So welcome back everybody to the channel. This episode is gonna be a Legion Champion Progress update, the second one so far. The first episode was called something along the lines of how I geared my Legion champions, and this is just me checking back in with you. We're gonna start off with the Xuan actually, hitting 250 and getting us closer and closer to actually hitting that magical 10k Legion mark that we'll be hitting in the next update for sure. With that being said, I've been grinding on basically all of my characters, all of my top 6 characters, right? The main 290 Talahar does dailies, okay, nothing special about it, right? On the other characters, Blaze Wizard, Mihile, Wind Archer, Dawn Warrior, and Thunderbreaker, I've been not only, doing my dailies for quite a while, I did 30-minute grind sessions every day on all of them, until I hit a large heal familiar and until I hit a large drop familiar. That was basically the goal. The Blaze Wizard, my second best character or second strongest character, he had that for a very long time, right? Because I tried to main it, right? With that being said, I'm getting closer and closer and closer to that hard Seren level on that Blaze Wizard. So let's actually take a closer look here on what the Blaze Wizard has achieved in the meantime. The big one first, let's take a look at the massive combat power here. 182 is crazy. It's crazy, but we have inflated CP due to the massive amount of temp stats that we have right now. Yeah, that's gonna go down significantly. With that being said, I do have to fix the crit rate here. I just noticed a couple of days ago, and in the bosses that I do now, I always have my Cyram's Wild Hunter potion going, so fixing the crit rate isn't really the highest priority right now, but I will do it. I'm gonna get around to that. And then like I said, I did 30-minute grind sessions here, and yes, if you were around this time last year, I tried to go for another main, and if you go for a main nowadays on an established account, you should probably max out Soul Janice first. Yeah, but not if you were to quit your adventure halfway through. So yeah, I have a lot of points spent into Soul Janice on this character, which doesn't benefit me at all, but you see, masteries it's just getting somewhere. I think on my Legion champs, getting all the relevant masteries to level 9, and then one skill maybe to level 9, or the Ori maybe to level 5 or something like that, is gonna be the goal. Yeah, the goal is really, this is really wishy-washy talking about a goal when it comes to this stuff, because the more you play, the stronger you'll get, right? And this is my only character that's 270 plus right now, so I will do, for example, Angler Company on this character every week, and I will be getting those fragments, right? So 6 shop is gonna improve. With that being said, I did put my stats into the Scouter, and right now I am at roughly 150% on the solo min card for hard Seren, which is right on the dot to be able to actually do the hard Seren Legion Champion mission when it comes out, right? So this character could potentially be done. With that being said, it is Maple Scouter, so it might be inaccurate. And also, I'm not a god at this game, so I definitely can't do hard Seren at 150% in 20 minutes. That's just gonna be impossible, right? But, as we all know, we're gonna get new masteries, and the strength of this character is gonna improve. And I feel like at the end of the next event, when we have, juiced up temp stats, I will try to do the hard Seren mission. I initially wanted to wait until, what was it? The the event that is before winter, Night Troop, because we'll get Omega stats on that event, right? But I think this character will be featured on this channel in the near future doing its hard Seren mission. And I'm really, I'm looking forward to that. Oh yeah, and gear-wise, interestingly enough, this character has a 22 Berserk and has a book. So yeah, and of course, for the mission, I would pop a black card. So it's actually kind of nice that I am pushing all my Legion champs towards doing C10 now on the weekly, just for the potential to get extra drops, right? Which will make it easier and easier and easier to actually achieve that hard Seren level, right? The other alternative to this would be, of course, just to wait for power creep, but I will need the power creep to take on normal colors, I suppose. Yeah, I don't know. That's just straight up impossible. Next up, we have the Mihile, my third strongest character. Is it called, the second Legion champ, or is this the third Legion champ? Because, the first one is the main. Do people count the main as the Legion champs? I don't know, upon release, this guy is gonna be number 3, the last guy to actually do the missions, right? And the Mihile is sitting at 266. I can use, the special Victoria Cup Transcendent Growth Potion now, and I'll do that. You see, I have mag pods and XP tickets, etc. prepped for the next hyper burning character, so the first one's gonna go real quick. I hope. I hope. Yeah, let's just check this out. Transcendent Growth Potion. Bam. You gotta love it. I was told, it doesn't really matter when to use this because, the XP amount required doesn't really increase that much until 270 anyways, so here we go. I have it on camera, right? With that being said, this character has no pitched items, and in general, what you've seen on the Blaze Wizard was all 22, besides the arcanes. On the following characters, we're gonna see 21 star CRA gear and 17 star arcanes, no liberated Genesis weapon, but I did manage to get all the Kana rings, all the Dominators, Superior rings, pendants, earrings, and belts to 22 on all my Legion champs. And what's really missing are these special items like, the Slime Ring and the Twilight Mark, stuff like that. And yeah, potential wise, it is all like fake free line pretty much. I might work on some of these potentials in the future, right? For example, this one right here, secondary double prime but with ID, is extremely bad on Mihile, especially since Mihile gets 100% ID during his burst, right? There is some stuff that I gotta do, right? There's definitely some stuff that I gotta do. With that being said, this character is basically at 82 mil combat power, and the plan is 100% to push this character to do Black Mage sooner rather than later. So right now, my attention is basically split in 3 ways, right? Now I do the Mihile for 30 minutes a day, and I try to grind the Blaze Wizard for 1 hour a day, because, honestly, I'm just not that comfortable on the class, and I feel like I need so much more combat power in order to take on hard Seren, regardless of, getting new masteries, etc. And then I do like half an hour plus on the Nightwalker. It also, it depends on my feel, On the Mihile, I usually do only 30 minutes. On the places that I might also do, 1.5 hours, or maybe sometimes only 30 minutes, etc. Also, some days I'm busy, so, can't play that much every day. With that being said, I'm extremely satisfied with progressing a couple of characters at a time, right? And I just wanted to expose my luck here, and also my lies. I did say I was going for large drop and large heal on all of my characters. This guy has normal heal only. 3% attack, very nice. And then item drop rate by a large amount. So this guy didn't hit the large heal, but with that being said, all the familiars that I farm on this character are still going to be transferred to the main. Right now, I feel satisfied with what I've got. Also, this is a Mihile, right? I feel like getting a normal HP familiar will be good enough. For sure. For sure, right? Also, you know, with looking at KMS, they don't have healing familiars at all, so relying on them, kinda, little kitty move, but I would say it's just nice to have for Vihela, right? And these characters are going to take on Vihela. Up until this very week, we did boss trades, but I assume, there's gonna be something in the patch notes. They are gonna release this night. They're not gonna be part of this video at all now. But there's gotta be something in the patch notes that that will just make me want to solo up to C10, even though these characters are not liberated yet. Or at least to like normal Darknell and then try to do trio hard Vela. Something like that. Still do Chaos Gloom because that's just a joke, right? And yeah, I don't know about Chaos Slime. If that even counts towards, the liberation progress. I'm not too sure actually. Also, oh wow, what the hell? These earrings are unique? Oops. So yeah, anyways, that has been my progress on the Mihile. Extremely satisfying to play character, and I will showcase this character when it takes on the Black Mage mission for sure, right? That's gonna be a long run also. Yeah, this character isn't strong, right? So it has to be improved until he's able to take on the Black Mage mission 100%. I didn't do the Scouter, but I'm sure, I have to push this character up a little bit. Also, here is my 6 drop, right? I forgot to show this. I just unlocked everything, nothing more than that. So yeah, that's not gonna be enough. I'm pretty sure, but like I said, this is just honestly. I know, yapping, right? This is a Maplestory podcast after all. We are standing in Cernium. This is this is beyond secondary monitor content. This is, you closed, you're actually, in another tab that you put on the secondary monitor, and now, yeah, I know. No, oh my god, the yapping. Anyways, what was I about to say? No, yeah, exactly. On the main, dude, progressing the main after 290 is so, I don't know, it feels so useless, right? I know I can roll better familiars, I can get pitched items, I can do colors, and yeah, it really doesn't feel like there's too much that I can, where I can steer my progression, right? It just comes down to the consistency, play weekly, do the content, and then just hope to hit, basically, either on Star Forcing or on whatever, right? And that's gonna be really it. Although there's one special tip, and I will get to that when we get to the main, how I'm preparing myself for the upcoming Star Force changes and the Ascend skill. But we'll get to that. Anyways, this is the Mihile. I really like playing Mihile. It is really fun. I'm so looking forward to having the quick buff option, because this character is gonna be so much better with that, to be honest. Like buffing from 8 to 1, and this is buffing to 8 from 8 to 1, but having the 60-second skill here on the pad, because dude, I just can't be bothered right now to also press this button. If it's up, great. If it's not up, who cares, right? But also, this is the case on the main as well. So please don't judge me. But yeah, I have all of these skills on pets, because oh my god, if it happens, great. If it doesn't happen, I don't care. So for this reason alone, the quick buff change is gonna basically buff all of my characters, which is extremely funny. Okay, yeah, this is the Mihile. Let's continue. Next up, we have my Wind Archer, and yes, as you know, all Knights of Cygnus, I think this is just cool. I kind of force myself to dabble in different playstyles, right? Especially when it comes to Thunderbreaker. But you know, we'll talk about that in a second. This is the Wind Archer, dude. I have matching chairs also on all of these characters. Maybe I should have, you know, showed some of those. How nice does this look, right? And this is a BGM chair as well. I like it a lot. And also I have this one. Also a BGM chair. You know, just two green event chairs and they just look nice. With that being said, let's take a look at the equipment. Very, very normal, right? Oh yeah, I didn't mention, you know, the Mihile that continues one equipped. Hurdor, I don't care, right? I could use Roar 2 or something like that. I don't know. I really don't know what's best, but since I'm kind of a ring swap hater, I feel like I'm just gonna use continuous on all of my mules. But maybe, you know, if I talk to a Dawnbearer main, a Mihile main, a Wind Archer main, a Thunderbreaker main, and all they say is, you know, dude, you just can't be using continuous, I'll have to adapt. But for now, you know, that's not the case. So yeah, this character got lucky with the Papillades mark, 22 stars. Very nice. And yeah, that's about it. Let's take a look at the CP. 78. Also, you know, very close actually to the Mihile in strength. But like I said, all of these characters have to take on C10 in the near future, right? In the very, very, very near future. So yeah, they need to be strong. I want them to be strong in order to have the runs go by relatively quickly. On this character, I have not unlocked the 6th job, like the full 6th job. I'm missing 2 skills here, but I don't think these are really too impactful. Also, I do know that there's a certain order to leveling up the skills, etc. I'm not too bothered by it right now. You know, on this character, for example, I've not looked up the correct order, right? But I do know that the final attack, Hexa Trifling Wind, you know, it's just a toggle that shoots out extra arrows. It does a lot of damage, right? It gets triggered by a lot of things. So I'll want to have this at 9 relatively soon. And then, you know, Howling Gale are the tornadoes. Of course, you know, these do a lot of damage as well. So I want to have potentially them at 9 too. And until I have, you know, this kill at 9 and, you know, maybe the other 2 masteries and this mastery also at 9, you know, then I can start looking into the proper hexa progression. Because up until that point, dude, does it really matter? Are you really gonna shoot yourself in the foot? Nah, come on. It's not that that impactful. So with that being said, yeah, this is the Wind Archer. Let's take a look at the familiars. Large MP and 2 attack, and actually getting this was so funny actually, getting a little bit of MP healing or a dual healing familiar is actually really useful in Vihela, because you might just need the mana. You might be out of mana after some time. Yeah, next up we have even, you know, double HP. Like this character has a lot of healing going on and a large drop rate with attack. Like these are all so nice. Like proper lines. You know, you could say, okay, the MP is kind of useless, but I like it. You know, this solely heals HP. This one gives me MP. Good for Vihela, like I said. So yeah, I kind of love it. Next up, the Thunderbreaker. Let's start off with the chair showcase. Yes, this looks nice. Anyways, gear, very normal. Also has a 22-star Papillades mark and a book, you know, very, very nice. I initially thought, and you know, Cont 4 even, you know, this character is cracked. uh, he needs it. I'm not really good at playing Thunderbreaker, but it's a decent challenge, and I actually enjoy it, even though I'm not good at it, and you know, I'm proud to say that. With that being said, gear wise, You know, having a 22-star pop mark on some of these characters is, yeah, it's not that surprising given that I created these characters before I even created my main, right? Before the ignition patch, I already had my other Cygnus Knights at roughly level like 220, something like that. And I was running Depop on them for, you know, a longer time frame than I even did on my main, right? So yeah. With that being said, that is basically the gear. Con 4 is super nice, but right, I wanted to tell you something about the book, right? I got this book while trading bosses, and I was so stoked. I never have to do will on this character anymore. I thought to myself, right? But actually, that's not true. With the upcoming liberation changes, I will have to do will again for the liberation points. Only, you know, for a limited time frame, but I will have to do will again. And to be honest, the liberation mission on will on this character, oof, was a close one. Was a close one, indeed. So yeah, with that being said, this character is sitting at 79 million combat power. Also, you know, you're seeing a pattern here. These are all characters that are similarly geared, who have a similar combat power strength, and also, you know, let's take a look, a similar 6 drop, of course. Let me close the other UI. Okay, let me close this. All right. So you can see I put a couple of points into the masteries again without really looking it up, and even, you know, I can do 5 right now, and yeah, I'm happy with that. So on this character, I feel like, you know, I'm just gonna put all the masteries to level 9. It's with the DPM classes, I think it just makes sense. Yeah, and after that I will look at a guide, right? But for now, not needed. And I'm just, you know, happy with this character. It's hard to play, and I don't even know, you know, the upcoming 2-minute changes, or, you know, the additional masteries, how the characters are gonna change. But I only know the main, right? But, you know, I will have some patch notes to read, I suppose. Again, here, the double useful stat familiar, large HP and free attack. Not percent attack, just attack. And what else? 2% attack, 1% strength. That's nice, right? So yeah, that's my Thunderbreaker. A really cool character. I can recommend playing Thunderbreaker for sure. And lastly, my Dawn Warrior. It is Ursus time now. I've been at this for quite a while. I'm kind of missing a cool chair on this character. I just have this one. Yeah, I'm not really too satisfied with that. I think we can sit on the default chair here and be happy. So let's take a look at the gear. This character also has a book. Oh, actually, this is my farming gear. This needs to be addressed. Daily bossing setup. And whoops, spoiler alert. Here we go. This character also has a con 4. I am not 100% sure if I would want a raw 4, but you know, this is what I got, right? First spellbook, same story as on the Thunderbreaker. I will return to running will with the liberation changes. With that being said, this character is at 75 million combat power, the weakest, but yeah, it's fine. It's fine. This character does what it needs to do right now, and I feel like after the upcoming Star Force event, and this is not something that I showed on every character, but, you know, I really want to show this on this character in particular. This character is gonna be strong. I have no idea, especially, you know, if you have been trading bosses recently, getting this amount of arcane spares is crazy, actually. I don't know what they did. Last November, they just nerfed the arcane box drop rate so much. It's so noticeable, and it was never addressed by Nexon. Fucking pigs. With that being said, this character has 3 pub marks, so I really hope a pub mark will go here as well. And yeah, since I have, or I hit the oh my god. Yeah, since I hit the cont for relatively quickly, I also have, a considerable amount of boxes on this character. It's actually, this character is stacked. With that being said, I am missing one of the enhancements here, boost nodes. But that's fine. That's fine, right? So yeah, that is basically my Dawnwearer. Let's take a look at the familiars. 2% attack also. Double normal healing, Is this a large healing familiar? No, but it's double normal. And it's HP and MP. That has to be good enough, right? Also, this is a double epic familiar. So, just so you have seen this. In other words, 40% boss damage familiar on unique is possible. Yeah, this is crazy actually. Super rare familiar. And yeah, large drop, which also comes with small HP, but that's irrelevant on this character since I'm using double healers. And yeah, that is my my Dawnwearer. Now, you have earned yourself something. Let's discuss the upcoming Acsend skill. But before we get into that, I really hope that you also noticed I have like one map that I have my characters in that kind of fits the theme of the character. And yeah, the Dawnwearer wasn't in freaking, what is it called again? Araf or Arif. Because the Dawnwearer doesn't have a chair, it sits in fucking Araf. There's some missing personality there, so I don't really know where to put my Dawnwearer at all. With that being said, to close out this yapping session, this podcast episode, I want to talk to you about the upcoming Acsend skill, and this is potentially just invalid, what I'm gonna say. Maybe it's just Nightwalker, Nightlord exclusive stuff, but we're gonna get into that. So if you haven't, paid attention to the most recent KMS update, they have introduced a new Hexa skill. It's sitting, either here or there. I would suppose it's sitting here, and every class gets a skill that they can use 3 times in a boss fight. That skill gives you roughly, for the duration of the skill, 2 seconds, maybe 3 seconds of iframe, and it does a lot of damage. So you would think that you would buff up to the fullest, right? Activate all your buffs, roar, and then just press this button 3 times for maximum damage, right? That would be the initial assumption when it comes to this stuff, but actually that's not how this skill is going to work at all. So as far as I know it, right, bottom left of the screen is the timestamp. I think up until this point this is what the people know. I could be wrong now. How I understood it was the following way. These skills are not affected by any of your buffs, right? If I were to pop my Maple Warrior 2 or other buffs here, it will not increase the damage of the Acsend skill at all. The only thing that really counts is what is right here, your combat power. That is the only thing that will count, I think, right? Meaning whatever you have equipped in your inventory matters. So usually, let me swap to my damage setup here, right? Usually everyone has an Ring equipped here, right? And on the swap, people might have another Ring equipped. How I have it set up here is I have on my secondary page the continuous ring equipped for basically running dojo, And for the last burst in Dojo, I swap into my main setup so I can make use of the Ring of Restraint. And that's my use case up to this point. There are other players on Nightwalker, on, you know, all other classes that do it differently. Because right now, Roar has 3 minutes of cooldown. I'm a 3-minute class. And I have a 90-second burst, right? So I could potentially swap to another Oz ring because I can't use my Roar during my mini burst because it's just on cooldown, right? I could potentially swap to my Oz ring and add my secondary page or, you know, equipment setup for another Oz ring. For example, I have this one, Totaling Ring 4. I managed to get this one. It's one of the potential ring swap candidates. There's also the weapon jump ring. There's also the level jump ring. And there's also the risk taker ring. Generally speaking, if you are ring swapping, you would want to ring swap from Roar in your origin burst to weapon jump in your mini burst. If you're a 2-minute class right now, I think you want to swap like from Roar to weapon jump to risk taker or totaling, something like that. Honestly, I have no idea, and I hope you're still following. I know I'm really, you know, I'm taking my time with this, right? But I want to have the ground set out for this discussion here. So there's ring swapping in the game. And a lot of people do it, right? But here's the thing. On Nightwalker specifically, most people don't really ring swap at all. Why is that, right? Like I said initially, the main use case for ring swapping is swapping between Ring of Restraint and weapon jump. But weapon jump gives claw users like Nightwalker and Nightlord just very minimal gain, right? So generally it's not worth to swap towards your secondary preset for another ring because, you know, you also lose 5 seconds of damage uptime, or actually, you know, 10 seconds because you also need to switch back, right? In bosses where, you know, they avoid you a little bit, you know, you might be able to find better timings to, you know, not have that 5-second penalty both ways, you know, be applied in such a harsh manner, right? Where you lose out on a lot of damage. With that being said, on claw user classes, I would say it's, you know, it's generally, if you have 100% damage uptime, it's probably not really worth it to ring swap, at least not to the extent where it's worth it to ring swap for other classes for their mini burst. Okay, with that established, I am right now at this moment thinking about ring swapping to another stud ring, right? Imagine I do my burst with Ring of Restraint, and then I swip, and then I swap into the secondary ring setup where I don't have a Cont 4, I have a Meister ring, right? That would at least also improve my off burst, but what it would also do is it would improve the damage of the upcoming Acsend skills. Yes, that is something that I'm thinking about. With that being said, it's probably, you know, worth it for me right now to swap into a totaling ring, or, you know, risk taker if I had it. Maybe weapon jump if I had it, right? I just don't have these rings. And play this in a ring swapping manner. But like I said, it's, you know, you lose damage uptime, and you would still lose damage uptime if you were to swap to your secondary preset, which has a a, a stat ring, right? There's no difference there, right? But like I said, your damage is improved in general, right? Because you're wearing a useful ring, and the Ascend skill damage will also be improved. So, like I said a long time at this point in the video, I'm really focusing on the things that I am able to improve, right? I'm not focused on getting more pitched item drops because I have no impact over that, right? I'm not focused on getting these eternal pieces done here because all I can do is run C colors and normal culling, right? I could maybe run hard culling, yada yada yada. But I'm not too concerned with that, right? I'm just thinking about what else is there for me to do, right? And this entire approach is very obvious when you look at my inventory, right? As you can see, I am not using the belt CFE combo because I don't have a belt, right? Which is very bad. With that being said, I established a couple of videos ago, having, 24-star Golox pieces is extremely strong, right? And I already have the 23-star superior ring, which hopefully is transferred into a 25-star ring. So preparing spares is something that I can do right now, right? And something else that I can do right now in order to prepare for the Ascent skills, if I were to swap to a stat ring, is prepare Meister rings, because these don't take up inventory space. I have 37 Meister rings prepped. You can only craft like 6 a day. But with that being said, I have 37 in the bank, basically, that are not part of this inventory. I also have Kana rings, right? And I could, if we get these Star Force changes, or rather when we get these Star Force changes, I could kind of force a 24-star Meister ring or Kana ring, right? I'm also collecting Kana rings. They're basically the same thing. Besides the fact that I'm already using a Kana ring, right? And I can't use 2. So if I were to hit a 24-star, maybe 25-star Kana ring, of course I would need to also create a 22-star Meister ring in order to have them all equipped in this, magical secondary setup where, I don't have a cont, but rather, 4 stat rings as we have established. Also, in my unique situation, I don't have an ET. It doesn't exist for me, and I don't want to rely on having to get one, right? Even right at this moment, going for, assuming we get the Star Force changes relatively soon, going for 23-star Kana ring, 24-star Kana ring or Meister ring, or 25-star Kana ring or Meister ring is something that is worth to do because I'm actually using the ring right now, right? And if I were to get an Eternal Terror ring and it replaces potentially a 24-star Kana ring, I don't really feel, or I don't really have to feel so bad about it, because I'm already looking 6 months or 8 months into the future when we are getting the Ascend skills, where potentially, it might be meta to have 4 stat rings, right? And outside of pushing these to 23-star plus, the 4th best stat ring that we have in the game would be the reinforced Golox ring, right? But you can't as easily force that up to, 23, 24 stars as you can do Meister rings and Kana rings, so they are actually better. With that being said, this is not entirely valid, what I've been telling you, since there exists another ring in the game which also would like to be equipped at some point, right? The Whisper of the Source, which at that point you have to swap other Goloks, and my 23-star, potentially 25-star Goloks ring would be that one ring in the secondary setup for me. And at that point, it wouldn't have been worth it to go for a high-star Kana or Meister ring, but only at that point, right? Meaning, there are still ways for me to progress my gear without having to rely on tubing for multiple days at a time, right? Of course, I can't spend 7 months of income on trying to get a double prime attack secondary in the probably most dehumanizing way possible. Just sitting there, clicking one button, staring at the screen in order to not miss the moment when it eventually happens. Oh man, I just hate cubing. And I hate flaming as well, right? I hate it so much. And dude, I just wanna think about ways where I can improve my gear without having to go for double primes. More double primes, you know. With that being said, I have double primes, fake double primes, you know. These already exist. Yeah. With that being said, these are my thoughts on the Acsend skill. I hope you liked this. This was, you know, very low fidelity kind of episode, more like a podcast. If you would like this podcast, and come on, let me know. Hope you liked it. I'm of course still grinding a little bit. I hope you like my fit for this episode. I don't know. I was kind of feeling this. This is the only surprise style box item that I own, because I think like roughly 2 years ago we were gifted one surprise style box, and this is the item that I got. How cool is that, right? Fuck gambling. Yeah, I would never buy any of those. I feel like I have to point it out. Oh, actually, you know, this item is from a gambling system, but actually I got the item for free by Nexon. Dude, I don't know. The yapping has to stop. This episode has to be over. I hope you have a wonderful start into this event. I know I will have one, because, you know, I have all the XP tickets prepped. That's gonna be awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Alright guys, I'll see you around next Thursday when we pump up my Lin to 260. Oh man, where is she? There she is. 215 Lin, which will give me 45 levels, which will put me very, very close to 10k. Oh man, maybe 2 weeks from now is gonna be my 10k episode. Crazy actually. Alright. Take care everyone. I'll see you next Thursday. Thanks for watching, and bye bye.